Hi all, this is Dr. Sage Breslin with Wisdom Wednesdays, my special series on my journey with cancer. This is video number 40, and I'm hoping that you can hear me well enough. I took a little field trip today out to the beach by my office, and you can see that it is really cloudy, but in a foggy sort of way. The kind of fog where if you walk the beach, suddenly you disappear into the fog. It's eerie, but kind of nice all at the same time. Who says we don't have seasons here in California? So I wanted to talk a little bit today about how isolating this disease has been, and even the treatment. Well, actually, maybe the treatment has been even more isolating than the disease. You know, I was thinking the last few days about what it means to live with cancer. Last week I was interviewed for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society fundraiser on my journey with cancer, and a lot of folks refer to kicking cancer and kicking cancer's ass and, fuck cancer, excuse my language. And in many ways, cancer has been a gift to me. It has provided me so many opportunities that perhaps I might not have had, honestly, had it not come into my life. And so while I don't want to have cancer, while I'd like to be free of cancer, I really understand that I have a relationship with the disease and the treatment for it. All that being said, I wouldn't recommend doing a bone marrow transplant to anyone unless you really had to, because it's really not a fun thing to experience. It was a lot more than I bargained for. But, I did it with the promise of achieving remission. And, I spent 5 years living with cancer before trying the transplant. And while the transplant has been largely successful in terms of the reduction in the amount of cancer in my bone marrow, I still have not achieved remission. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I've noticed a lot more aches and pains recently, probably because I'm doing more, because I feel a little better, and because I'm really motivated actually to have a life where I'm as active as I was before, and enjoying and savoring life as much as I desire. So it's probably all it is, but I know that it is kind of whittling away at a space in my brain about this relationship that I have with my cancer. So that's a little bit of an update on where I am personally. Professionally, I have noticed some similarities about where I am in my journey with cancer and with the leaders that I work with. And one of the subjects that's come up is the isolation of leadership. Now, it's not maybe like it was in, years ago where leaders were really siloed. The leader was at the top and the staff were far below. There might have been middle management, and they probably were, loosely connected to management and loosely connected to staff. But we live in a world today where leaders are very conscious, where they are attempting to have a much more integrative approach with their staff, with their team. They are wanting so much to have this connection and communication. And many have been very, very successful. But even with all of that, we notice that leaders still don't know how authentically they can show up, how transparent they can be. If they are undergoing a medical issue, do they share that with their team? What about a mental health issue? What if they have a loss and their grief is just overwhelming and turns into a depression? Can they discuss that with their team in such a way that they can then, step back a bit and let the team take on more? Or will that scare the team? Will that cause their investors to be worried about leadership or management or, the bottom line? And this is where having a coach, especially a leadership coach, can really make all the difference in the world. If you are able to reach that level of authenticity, and then you learn how to discern what you bring to the table, not lying, not showing up, but looking at the layers that we share with our team, with our families, with our investors, with the world. You've seen by my own example that I have opened it up and put it out there, mainly because I want to teach by example, but I also want to reach the people who have had these kinds of experience and perhaps need a pathway back to the world of work, or need a pathway through to connecting even more deeply with their families. So if you are a leader and you may or may not be siloed, you may or may not have a great connection with your team and clear communication, but if you even have a great connection and communication with your team, but you are experiencing something that has left you feeling isolated and you're curious about how to manage that tricky space, send me a private message. This is Wisdom Wednesdays, and I am wondering if you might comment below, how isolated or connected do you feel in your company? And what kind of support could you use to achieve what goals? This is Dr. Sage Breslin with Wisdom Wednesdays.